are talking Zombie 8 Urban Decay. This one written and directed by Dustin Ferguson, the man who brought us Apex Predators. And this one stars Jennifer Nangle and is meant to be, I think, a homage to the Fulci movie known as Zombie 2. Here in the UK it's known as Zombie Flesh Eaters, and that had a kind of number of kind of somewhat unofficial kind of sequels, and I believe this is obviously meant to be taking homage of that, thus calling it Zombie 8, but it is essentially a new movie without any real connection to anything else. Very, very low budget film. So yeah, let's discuss. We'll have fun with this one, let me just tell you. The plot, and I use that in air quotes, is about a woman, initially anyway, who discovers that her long lost father, through some kind of DNA tracing app, is living off some kind of Caribbean island. She grabs her boyfriend and this other guy to go and track him down, and they end up in the kind of like the remote wilderness somewhere. And we see at the beginning of the movie, there's kind of a long 8 minutes kind of stock footage sequence of some people doing voodoo or whatever. And anyway, her dad is being kind of bound in this kind of tent with a sack over his head, and they decide to kill the guy who's holding him and take him back to America. However, he's actually a zombie, and thus breaks loose and affects everyone else, and that's kind of your plot. Okay, so Dustin Ferguson, I believe he's knowingly making bad movies. I don't know why. I don't know why you would do that, to be honest. But is there anything I can say in this movie, in the positive column? There maybe is two things. Okay, so the first one, and I think the best thing I can say about this film, is I actually quite enjoyed the music. The music was very reminiscent, actually, of, you know, Zombie Flesh Eaters and those kind of, you know, Italian kind of zombie movies that we kind of got in the kind of in the 70s and stuff. And I did think it kind of fit the, you know, fit the kind of the mood and the kind of what it was trying to homage quite well. And in actual fact, in that kind of long 8 minute sequence of voodoo stock footage that they use, there's actually a couple of sequences where we see kind of zombies coming out the grave, and although it kind of looks cheap and we see like planks bending on where they're kind of like coming out the ground and stuff, again it was an attempt there to kind of make it look like, you know, those kind of Fulci films and kind of stuff like that, which I did appreciate, and that was quite fun. But that is the 8 minutes intro sequence, and in that 8 minutes, about 30 seconds of zombies coming out. The other thing I can say is our main zombie, the father, the makeup on him wasn't too bad. And at least the guy who played that character, if you can call it that, was moving around somewhat kind of in a zombie-like fashion. You might be able to tell I am somewhat scraping the barrel on this one. Okay, but let's talk about what doesn't work. Everything else, literally everything else. But, you know, I'm not the type of person who will just jump on hyperbole and things like this. I will break it down. But let me start with technical elements. Now, this was the case with Apex Predators. I felt that it was just looking like it was shot on a camcorder without kind of like lighting or mics used and things like this, and it appears to be the same in here as well. So on a technical level, the quality of you know, when we're talking about non-stock footage here, by the way, and we'll come on to that, but the actual footage filmed for this movie, it's of quite low quality. The contrast is pretty awful. You know, the picture quality isn't brilliant, and the kind of the technical aspects like the lighting and stuff. There's no attention to kind of lighting. The sound is awful. It's looking like they're using the in-camera microphone on the camera, so it's awful and doesn't pick up, you know, people sitting in the back of the car, for example. The technical aspects here are poor. Now, I think you can get away with this if you're doing maybe a found footage maybe, because you can kind of, you know, in universe it kind of makes sense. But for traditionally traditionally sort of shot movie, you can't really, even a low budget one like that, I think you have to have some type of technical aptitude to be able to kind of make a movie that you would then want to sell to people. You know what I mean? So technically speaking, it is not well done. I suppose the movie's mercifully short. I will say that. Let's talk about other things now. The plot. There really isn't one. I mean, their setup is this woman wants to go to this Caribbean sort of country, or island I should say, find her father. You know, fair enough, actually kind of sad. Although there's, you know, they don't worry about pesky things like characterization or anything like this. No, they just kind of go their way. We just kind of go with these characters who we're not really kind of doesn't bother to kind of establish or anything like that. And they get the father. They just basically shoot a guy. The taxi driver gives them a gun. They shoot some random guy. Take their father, who's covered in blood, with a sack over his head. Don't bother to take the sack off his head. And the funniest thing, they get him through airport security, tied up with a bag over his head and covered in blood. They just go, "Oh, that was dead dodgy, getting through security." You know, obviously the director doesn't care about that sort of stuff. And then we see the kind of the zombie get loose, and that's the last we see of the characters. And she's still alive, the daughter, but played by Jessica Nangle, and that's it. So that's our kind of our main character out the movie about halfway through, and then the rest of the film is literally just people running away from zombies. Now, here's the thing. As I said, the movie's relatively short, but the actual footage used in the movie is probably about half that, because this movie has a lot of stock footage. The scenes where we're on this Caribbean island, there is like literally some scenes which are 2-3 minutes long of just kind of animals fannying around, and it's great if you want to watch a nature documentary. But if you're watching a zombie film, I get you have a couple of shots, a few seconds here and there of, you know, maybe kind of to establish you're in a sort of remote area and there's wildlife around. But literally, there's a scene where there's a spider spinning up, and it spends about like 90 seconds, literally. And then we're talking the movie's like, you know, just over an hour long, on this spider spinning this web, and it'll cut to a couple of mongoose or something. It was just crazy. There's a lot of stock footage. The other thing is if it's just kind of long shots of people walking around. And I mean, what I'm assuming has happened here, the actors that are actually involved in the movie, they haven't had for a long period of time. This is why they've just disappeared halfway through the movie. And it's just got lots of, like, you know, footage of people kind of walking around, or it's kind of like interviews with like pretend TV channels and internet people and stuff like that. So there's no real movie here. It's this, I mean, I think, had it been a short, you could have maybe, you know, a little short tribute to, you know, the kind of like the Italian kind of zombie movies. Maybe that could have been a bit more fun. But, you know, even the kind of the zombie makeup is really poor. Like, you'll just have like white face paint, and then the rest of the bodies will just be kind of regular kind of like, you know, skin colour and things like this. And only the main real zombie, I think, they've made any real effort in. The rest of the zombies don't even kind of move around. They look like they move around like they've shit themselves, rather than that they're actual zombies and things like this. As I've said, I think this movie is knowingly bad, but I just don't understand why you would make it or why you would be in it, to be honest. I mean, if you're going to make a bad movie, I think you at least have to kind of try and lean into the ridiculousness and make it kind of cheesy. This one is just, I mean, no one wants to watch a load of stock footage and, you know, long shots of people walking around or faux TV interviews that seem to go on forever. It's not entertaining. You can enjoy a bad movie for some schlocky level and still kind of, you know, be a fan of it. This is just boring. So I will give it a 2 out of 10. And that is only, as I say, really for the music and the okay zombie effects on the main zombie. And that is it. And I feel I'm being somewhat generous with that score. Dustin Ferguson, certainly a name to watch out for on any kind of future movies, I feel there. Anyway, 2 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.